Okay, one of the last little bits we're going to look at for this part anyway is about multiplying two expressions. So what we've looked at already was kind of removing brackets and getting rid of the brackets fairly easily. But what we want to look at now is how can we take one expression and just multiply it by another. So in terms of what that looks like, it looks like one of these questions that we have here. So x plus 2 multiplied by x plus 4. Okay, so straightforward enough with two expressions in two brackets. So the first thing we do with a question like this is that we split up the bracket. So I want you to go just in front of the plus or minus sign. And we consider, remember that we know that in each of these brackets we have one term and another term. So we go just in front of the second term, and we're going to draw a dotted line there. And that's where we're going to divide up our bracket. How we divide it up is actually similar to what we've done in the previous ones when we've been multiplying and removing the brackets. So what we write it as is x, and then we take the second bracket, x plus 4, then we take the plus 2, and then we have x plus 4 again. So let's just make sure we see where all of those are coming from. So the x here is coming from here. The plus 2 is this one here. Then the final part, the x plus 4, is the second bracket, and it appears twice. So the second bracket will be there twice, and that's fine. We're splitting the first bracket. Okay, so it's kind of coming out in the same way that we've done the previous ones. So in the previous ones, we had something like 4 multiplied by x plus 2, and we got 4 multiplied by x plus 4 multiplied by 2, and the 4 was there twice. So we're doing something similar here, but we're going to split the first bracket each time. So again, this is another step that we have to get used to, of this idea of splitting that first bracket. Once we've that done, then we can see it's just the same as one of our questions that we had in the previous section, where we were removing the brackets and then simplifying. But let's just try an example. Okay, we'll do a full example through. So x plus 2 multiplied by x plus 3. So we split the bracket here, okay, just in front of the plus. We rewrite it, x and my second bracket, and my plus 3, or sorry, my plus 2, and my second bracket. Let's just highlight that so we can see how easy it is to get confused. So I'll leave the things yellow that are coming from the first bracket, and then maybe do green then for the second bracket. Once we've that done, we can see where everything's coming from there. So I've split up that first bracket. So this one's going to here and this one's going to here. Then I'm following through. So x multiplied by x plus x multiplied by 3. So we're nearly just forgetting that this is a different sort of sum, because now it's not. Now it's one that we're familiar with. So this part here is going to be removing the brackets. So again, if we're unsure looking at this, maybe go back to that one and look back over removing brackets. We get x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 6. And if I add all those together, x squared, how many x's do I have? I have 3x and 2x, so I have 6x plus 6. And that would be my answer then. Stop there, I can't go any further. So we have an x squared, an x, and a 6. And this is something that we're probably going to get familiar with seeing, is something like that. Looking at two more examples then, just to really drive it home, we're really kind of seeing that the only different step here is splitting up that first bracket. So just in front of the sign, I'll draw my little dotted line. And this is what I want to see people doing. Write out your question, draw your little dotted line. Then 2x, and my second bracket, my 3x plus 4, minus 3, 3x plus 4. Okay, then we're doing the sum exactly the same as we've always done. 2x by 3x plus 2x by 4, minus 3 by 3x, minus 3 by 4. Make sure you're clear with where everything's coming from here. So 6x squared plus 8x minus 9x minus 12. And simplifying that down, 6x squared minus x minus 12. Okay. Then we maybe just do the other example here as well. So again, dotted line here just before the second term, and I get 2a by a minus 3b plus b by a minus 3b. And just highlighting again to make it really, really clear what's coming from the first bracket, how we've split it up, okay, and how the second bracket is there twice, and that's okay. Then we're following the same steps once again. You're going to be sick of hearing me say that, but we're following the exact same steps. And why I keep kind of pointing it out, I suppose, and keep saying it, is because it helps just us to see how important it is to understand each of these steps. And more so even than understanding, it's just that you were able to do each of these steps. So rather than even necessarily that you can completely understand and derive where it comes from, it's that you recognize what's required of you at each step, that you know what the next thing to do is. Okay, and that's going to be really, really important. So 2a by a gives me 2a squared. 2a multiplied by minus 3b gives me minus 6ab. Plus b multiplied by a just is ab or ba, and this gives me minus 3b squared. So I have 2a squared minus 5ab minus 3b squared. And that's my end result. The reason I'm going fairly quickly, I suppose, through these examples is that once we've completed this first step, everything else is from the previous section. Everything else. The previous section and the one before that, okay, everything has been built up to this point. That's something we're going to see a lot with algebra, is that later things are kind of building upon what we've done already. I'm going to do one more question. I actually don't have it written out here, but let's just write one down. So as an example, let's look at something like 2x minus 3 squared. So let's have a think before we start into the question. What does it mean for something to be squared? Well, we should know that, not 2, maybe let's do 3 squared is 9, and 3 squared is the same as 3 multiplied by 3. 4 squared is 4 multiplied by 4. We know that x squared is x multiplied by x. So if I have 2x minus 3 squared, that's going to be 2x minus 3 multiplied by 2x minus 3. But of course we know in algebra we don't really use this sign. We don't really use this multiply sign. So instead we have 2x minus 3 multiplied by 2x minus 3. And now we're at one of the questions that we've just had in all the examples. So we split it up just after the first term, just before the second term. We take the 2x, we get 2x minus 3. We take the minus 3, we get 2x minus 3. Let's just split it up here so we can see where everything's coming from. And I get skipping a step, splitting up my bracket, 2x by 2x plus 2x by my minus 3 and my minus 3 by my 2x. The hardest part about this one is that all the numbers are the same. We're getting all the same numbers kind of repeating every time, and that's the hardest part, is keeping track of it all. Just making sure that we're happy. 2x here being repeated here and here, and then the minus 3 again as we've always had, okay, being where kind of in the place we expect. 4x squared minus 6x minus 6x minus 9. 4x squared minus 12x minus 9. And that's our answer then. So these sort of sums really, really important as well. Okay, so the key thing here, I suppose, making this connection between 2x minus 3 squared being the same as 2x minus 3 multiplied by 2x minus 3. Once we made that connection, then you were starting the sums the same way that we did the previous ones. So the key thing, or the key new part that we're getting here, is that the step that we do first is to split up the first bracket. So that orange dotted line, and then rewriting our sum. And that's something to work at, even just making sure you can get that first step right. Because at this point, when you're getting to this point, you should be making sure that you're happy with the previous parts. So if you're happy with the previous parts, then going from here shouldn't pose any problem. But making sure that you can split up that first bracket correctly is going to be really, really important as you kind of move on. That's going to be really, really key. So make sure you're happy and that you see where we're splitting it up. Okay, so split it up after the first term. After the first term, so directly after the first term, we split up the bracket. Okay, directly after the first term, draw your little dotted line, and then we split up that first bracket in that way. And make sure just that you're kind of key with what that means. So following this first step and then applying it to all the examples as we did here. Okay, so following them, and when you're doing your sums, just making sure then that you do all the sums in the same way.